Okay.
Yeah, so shall I share?
Yeah, so let me actually start with the screen share first.
Okay, okay.
That will be recorded. Okay, so I think this is the one, right? Yeah. Today's first problem is path sum 2. So this is a problem about given a root of a binary tree and an integer which is target sum. Return all root to leaf paths where each path sum equals the target sum. And the definition of leaf is a node with no children. So if you look at the example one, so we are usually given the root node, and from there we need to actually go in all these paths to the leaf and just find out if we have a path. If we add all the path node values, it equals to the target sum. So in this case, we have a path which starts from 5, 4, 11, and 2, which add to 22. So this is one path, and the other is 5, 8, 4, 5. So that also adds to 22. So that is the reason we have these two paths as an output. And similarly, we have another example. In this case, the target sum is higher than any of the path. So we have an empty output. And similarly for this third example also. And if you look at the constraints, the number of nodes in the tree is in the range of 0 to 5,000. And this is what the node values are, minus 1,000 to plus 1,000. And same with the target sum also, right? Yeah. So this was the paths up to, okay. So anyway, any brute force, any, I
So
think we
pre-order
don't have a,
you
yeah,
can use,
go
right?
ahead. Mm-hmm.
I'm saying pre-order you can use, like to keep on summing the values from root till the point. I mean, go to the extreme bottom, what do you say, leaf. And if you find that, let's say 5 plus 4 plus 9, 11, 20, right? Now you can take, if you take 2, you will get a valid part. Then you backtrack to 11 and then check whether 11 plus 7 gives, but it won't. So you will again go back to and then explore the right side.
Okay, okay. Was that Nick?
Yeah, I think so. No, it was. He's not speaking to us. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, what you say makes sense. If we can do a backtracking, we keep going. Um, we take you said pre-order traversal, right? So yeah, in pre-order traversal, we can do that. We can go through all of them and then keep on looking for what the path which meets our criteria of the target sum, and then we store the paths, right? If we find it.
In a vector or list, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, so you want to share? Anyone
Yeah,
wants to share? Yeah, I'll just go ahead.
I
Yeah,
can
go ahead. Yeah.
share. So let me share the screen. Yeah. So this is what I'm doing. So if this pre-order traversal, I made a helper function. Like I'm starting from the root, and 0 is like current sum, and this is like storing the intermediate paths it will store, and this is the final result for storing the final. What do you say? Like list of list you have to return, right? So this will store the transient path, and then that path will go inside this list. So we go here, and if not, I mean, if you are done with the routes, you just return the path. Otherwise, what is happening? We are going till the leaf, right? If not root left and not root right, I mean, till the last point we are going, and whatever current sum we has obtained, and if that is a leaf node, we'll add its value and check if it is equal to your target. Then that root dot value you are append it to the current path, and that current path finally you append it to the final path. I mean, you can say the result path, and just make a recursive call on left and right. So whenever you make a recursive call, just add the current root value, and same value you add it to the current path, and this is the target and path. And similarly for the right also you do. You add the root value to it, and then to the current path you append this array, and then same target rates of the parameter, and you return the paths. right?
Okay, this is an implementation, right? Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, this is one way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't you need to delete when you're coming out of that pre-order or something?
Oh, so for the next, I mean, for storing the next path, you are saying, right?
I mean, in line 14, right? No, 15, and you did a current path to append root val, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you're coming out, that root val shouldn't be there, right? For the, I mean,
Next,
you have, you are going to the root, I mean, to the parent.
so you are saying like you are going here, here, and here. So
I
once
think he's saying the backtracking part, right?
you pop out
Yeah,
from
yeah,
here, right? Then insert this value.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think implicitly
Yes.
it
No,
here
no.
once.
Since in Python all the values are passed by object, so this is same as passing by value. So the vector which is passed in the functions is
Mm-hmm.
not a same vector. It will be copied first and then it will be passed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's like the way
But
we do in C++, correct?
yeah, in C++ we have to pass it by reference and then we can delete when we backtrack to previous nodes.
So here two copies of that vector will be created, one on this side or one on this side,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so it will add another complexity in our overall complexity of the program
Okay. Otherwise, I'll have to
because
pop
the
it at this
yeah,
point.
yeah.
Makes
Yeah, but
sense.
in C++
Okay.
you can also add, isn't it?
No, no,
No.
no, I think I get it. So when you're doing a plus, it is creating a new list, but when you're doing an append, it is appending to the original list itself. But you are always passing a new copy, so you, I mean, in even if you are appending something in the root, I mean the leaf node, that shouldn't become a problem because you are always passing down a copy of the list.
Yeah, because it is at every different recursion level. So that will have a different
Uh,
copy always. Yeah.
yeah. Otherwise, the 16 would also shouldn't make any difference if we are passing by value.
Yeah.
Yeah. 16 is the final result, which is storing the current path, right?
Yeah.
Path. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I didn't. Can you come again? What you said? I thought that what Abhishek is saying, like two copies will be created, but your thought is different, right?
No, no, no. So
Yeah.
the basic thing is the
Mhm.
level 17 and 18. So you are doing a current path plus root.val. I think this is creating a new one. So you are not doing a
Oh,
current, you are not appending to the current path. You are doing a
got it.
current path plus, yeah. So
So
you
when
are
you are
always
at
passing
11,
a new path.
so 11 plus 2, it will append like this, and 11 plus 7, it will append like this. I mean, you had, yeah, got it. So I got it. So it automatically create a new new vector for B. I mean, up to this current path vector will be same, and adding this will be a different vector, and adding this will become a different vector. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Nick, you can
No,
mute.
no.
उसकी माँ को नहीं दिखाया है ये उसको ही दिखाया
Yeah, go ahead. If anyone next,
Yeah, can I
Yeah,
ask
so
here?
go ahead.
So we have two if conditions here, line 11 and line 13, yeah? Can we somehow merge it to one condition?
मैंने क्या नहीं
Usually,
मोबाइल लेके तो गया वो
तेरा नहीं है क्या
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Usually, yeah, I mean that usually we just have one condition, yeah, like termination condition, yeah. But here we have two, and I'm trying to understand what's the reason if we can merge two conditions just to one, like something like if
This is
root.
like when you have traversed the entire tree and nothing is left. So you are finally returning your result. And this is for every branch. Every branch you will reach a leaf node, right? So there you need to create this path. So I don't think that both of these things can be combined, or I am not sure. Like Is it possible to combine both of them? I mean, line 11, 12, and 13 in one line.
See,
And so
line 11, 12, 11
Mhm.
means if the root is null, then you are going to return.
final path
Okay,
result,
yeah.
right, which will contain all the intermediate paths. Yeah.
Whatever it is, you are just returning because that is
Ah.
what you want to return for the helper function. And line 13, you are trying to check whenever you are coming down, you are
Mhm.
the leaf, you are the leaf node.
In that particular branch, yes.
So even if you are a leaf node, okay, in that case, if you're not satisfied, okay, so then you will still go, okay, because you are actually looking for your target value, right? Then you will go back again, and in some cases you will still go to this root will be not, it will be null, and then you will return from there, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So,
So like when you come to 7, so there you actually are not going in line 13, and you are not going inside that if condition of line 13.
line number 7, yeah.
Oh no, you will still go, yeah. So, but you won't go inside the if condition of line 14. Correct. So you won't be having a path. So when you go for 5, 4, 11, and 77, so that I think that will terminate from 11 and 12. It will return from 12, not from the inside the if condition of 13,
Inside
because
there we don't have any
14.
returns. 19 you are saying, or what?
Maybe you can just comment these 2 lines because that is the base case, no? You always have this one, isn't it?
This one you are
Uh-huh.
saying.
Isn't it?
Let's try.
So that is the base case. So it will always, you will always have to have that,
No. Thing.
right?
It's giving none. It's giving error.
So you cannot avoid this one. So if you, what happens if your root is null? So
Null.
what are you
Yeah.
going to do? So that is what is going to happen. So above that, you are also trying to check if your current root actually is a leaf.
Only
Isn't it?
single.
Yeah. So it is not always going to come here, but it will go to that place also.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, if we want to remove this line 11 and 12,
Yeah, I removed it. They were giving error that I mean none type object is being left. You're telling that
we
you
need
have
to add extra if statement in line 17 and 18. Yeah, if we have to remove line 11 and 12, then you need to add extra if statement in line 17 and 18, where we are traversing to the left and the right child.
here you have to check. It's the same thing. Like if root
Yeah,
dot
so
left.
in line 17, you just add if root dot left exists, then only go for the helper method. Similarly, if root dot right exists, then only go for the helper method.
But that's a redundancy,
And then you
right?
can remove the 11 and 12 line.
That may not work because what if the root, the original root is null? I mean, the root from the the pass in path sum is null, then you get the
Let's see information.
Yeah, that is the base case we always do, right? Yeah, it's going to take for that.
Yeah, so for this, you need to add extra statement in the main program.
Yeah, you'll have to say if it's not root, then
Yeah,
only
not in the
involve this
helper
one.
method, in the program itself. So I think below line 9, there only you can check if root exists. If root does not exist, then you can
return from
an
the
empty vector.
That's the base case. There.
I didn't.
Yeah, because
I didn't
DFS is
look
not
at
keeping track of the
Empty,
entire
yeah.
empty array.
Yeah.
Can the value be negative or 0?
Yes, 0.
Yeah,
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it is. It is constraint is minus also.
But why you are looking for that if it is negative? Yeah.
Oh, because like on line 17 you append a path, right? So let's say the current sum, right? And then you that means you get one path, but then oh, only if it root. Huh? Okay, I see. Okay, never mind.
At the leaf node only.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
if the values are positive, you can do an early return maybe. You don't have to go inside. You don't have
Yeah,
to.
so we don't have to call the helper method if the root does not exist. That means there are no nodes in the tree. So you can add extra check in line 10, which is just after the path sum
Main.
method. Yeah, there only you can check if root does not exist, then just return an empty list. Then this will work.
right. So what is the time complexity of this one?
This O of n, every node you will be visiting only once.
Well, no, it seems to be O
No,
of n
no.
square.
Yeah,
N
yeah.
square, why?
The reason being, we are copying the vector at each of the steps for the left and right node. So this will add a extra complexity uh, for each of the traversal of the nodes.
Right. So what is being described in the solution also, like imagine it's a complete binary tree. So the paths will be almost n by 2. So whenever you find a path, actually when you come to the end, you are actually copying n by 2 nodes, correct? And so if it happens to do it for most of them, so if you are traversing the tree O of n and multiplied by n by 2, it will be n square, right?
Can you
So the copying of a path into your paths, current path, when you are copying a current path or creating a current path, then you're copying into the paths, right? So that itself is O of n operation, at least O of n by 2, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
From other end came, other end?
Are you
Other
copying
n
the
is the
reference?
whole of this pre-order tree.
Tree traversal, okay.
You only copy the reference, not copy the value.
No, you have to copy the value, right? Because you have to return it in the path.
Yeah, but you return the path, right? The path. But let's say you have like 1 and 2, right? Let's say suppose you have 1, 2, 1, 2, for example, then the real value underlying value memory is only 1 and 2. But you need to
Well,
copy the reference, right?
see here, this current path, which is on line 18, so it will have a one path, like whatever that path is, right? So when you are actually doing this append function on line 19, so you are actually completely copying this current path into this paths, right? So here actually will be that n by 2 operation or whatever it is. This copying, this will be a copying, right? You are appending it.
Yeah.
So I was also surprised to find that, but yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah,
When
it's
you
good
do
that
this
you brought
path
it.
appending. No, I just looked in the solution and I found out, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also one interesting thing they say, you can do this in BFS way also, but then it will be very complex, right? So
Yeah, and
therefore
I
we,
think we
Mhm.
need to keep track of the nodes as well in the BFS. So this will add, so in the BFS iteration, we need to keep track of the entire nodes for each of the iterations. So I think it will consume more memory if
Yeah,
we compare it with the pass by reference method of the DFS or pre-order approach.
yeah. So therefore DF is always better in this
Yeah, I think
scenario.
in this case, DFS is better,
Uh-huh.
and we should skip going for the iterative version.
Yeah, iterative also, yeah, not, yeah, good.
So, I mean, he. So, based on what Santosh you have said, uh, Shashank's code would be n cube, right? Because we are passing at every step we are passing the copy.
Yeah,
So
I think
you're
it
passing the copy, but still it is only one copy. You know, you're just incrementing by one value always.
uh, I think it won't be n cube, but it will be n square into the height of the tree. So at
No, no.
max,
Let's take a skew tree itself.
skewed tree.
Uh,
Yeah, for skewed tree
yeah.
it will be n cube.
Well, see, your this one, the current sum, that is what you're talking about.
I
Oh,
mean
sorry,
the
current path.
Shashank's code.
Yeah, Shashank's code only. So current path, and then he's adding one root dot val. Right. So that is
But
what you are saying. It is going to be n by, that will be n by 2.
that will be, yeah, O of n. That should be, that will also be O of n itself.
Okay, that will be O of n, and then again copying in the path will be another O of n.
Yeah.
And visiting the entire tree is again O of n. That way, O of n cube.
Yeah, even I think that is correct.
And why n by 2 you are saying, Santosh? That I don't understand. N by 2.
Well, if your whole tree was complete binary, okay,
Uh-huh.
so one path will be maximum of n by 2 size, right?
One path will be maximum of
No,
n
no,
by
no,
2.
not n by 2, at least the height of the tree. Yeah, if it is,
Log n if it is balanced. If it is
yeah,
a balanced height.
if we had more number of paths which are actually coming to a target sum,
Uh-huh.
okay, so then that will be okay. Then it will be again O of n only. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, n by 2, I having slight confusion.
Yeah, that was that was said in the description. Yeah, but yeah,
Hmm.
what you say also makes sense. Why it is n by 2? Okay, let me read it.
So finally, what it is, n by n cube or n square?
So what it says, the time complexity is O of n square, where n are the number of nodes in a tree. In the
Mhm.
worst case, we could have a complete binary tree. And if that is the case, then there would be n by 2 leaves. Okay.
Leaves will be n by 2, yeah.
For each leaf, we perform a potential of O of n operations of copying over the path node to a new list to be added into the final list. Hence, the complexity in the worst case would be n square. So, because if we had n by 2 leaves, right,
Mm-hmm.
and then we form a copying for each and every leaf,
Mm-hmm.
copying all of these, whatever those values will be, that path, if we copy it for each and every leaf. So, it will be n by 2 times you are copying that many nodes, that path, right?
Yeah.
So, n by 2 leaves if you are copying every time. So, that is saying n by 2 into n, which will be n square by 2. So, it will be n square.
It, I think we can optimize on it because if you think about like a complete binary tree, and let's say if every root is, I mean, if every leaf is part of the solution, right? Then probably we don't need to copy the one from the root to the, let's say suppose, in the picture, we go from 5 to 11, right? So from 5 to 11, we don't need to copy. We need to maintain only a single copy of it.
No,
Then,
because we might maintain a single copy, but when you're copying to the paths, so because that is what we have to return, right? Isn't it? So if we look at here also, we always return the root 5. And if we had like 5 4 here also, so we still have to return these. So this copying will always be there because we have to copy the complete path. Right, so whatever the prefix will be, if they are, this was also 4 in this case, so we still have to do a redundant copy even if you say so.
okay, because the signature required it. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, so this will be always the what you say, the height of the tree. Okay, but what he's saying, in the case if the output was of n by 2 leaves, output itself was n by 2. So that will be n by 2 operations, correct? So that will be an n by 2 operations of copying. So that what he's saying is n square. Yeah, I don't know how much it makes sense, but that is what it is.
Yeah.
So I got the understanding, but so even if you're passing by reference, it would be O of n square. Uh, Somehow I'm okay. I was getting, but here we are doing a copy at every level, right? So would it be n square or n cube?
Well, we are not copying, at least in the past, we are not copying. We are copying only at the leaf, no? So
No,
this one,
I was referring to the Shashank's code because he's creating a copy of the list at every step, right?
or this
For
one you mean to
both
say?
left and the right. The
Mm-hmm.
21 and 22,
Oh,
he's
sorry.
adding current
Yeah,
current
this
path
one.
plus root dot val.
Right, okay. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know, maybe that's a good thing. So that will be another n by 2 in each and every case. And then again, you are copying it because anyway, it is on the stack. So some way there is an operation happening there. That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah,
But
got
it's
it.
an incremental. So every time if it is a stack, um, so it's a, if it is not reference, right, it is actually by value. Therefore, you are saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if it would have been by reference, then it would be much better because you have a single copy, correct? And only our pain would be at the end, we would have to actually pop it out. Even if we had to maintain another operation, that's still fine, but the results will be much better.
In this case, it might not be the
I think
same,
I
right?
agree on
Because
that. Yeah.
the reference still, you need to get the reference still side of an integer, right? So the value of the reference in this case would be similar.
No, come again, Leon. What was the thing you said?
I say if you copy the value, you know, if the value, the size of the value is a size of an integer, right?
Uh-huh.
And if you copy a reference is also an integer, right? So the size does not change. So it doesn't matter. You copy by value or copy by reference. In this case, the size still an integer, so you don't gain a lot of memory.
But a reference, if you use this the current path in a reference, we'll have a single copy at the very root, right? Very high level, the first level of a recursion, isn't it? So before we pass on, so that itself we will keep on considering, and whatever we make changes, it will that change will apply to the one at the very top level of the recursion tree. So we'll have a single copy, isn't it? That is what I think Uday was also saying.
Yeah, but if you look at the end, right? At the end, let's say you have an array of the real value or an array of references, right? The size of that two array are the same. Because a reference, you know, like in C++, a reference is taken, is the size of the reference is an integer, right?
Hmm.
Size
Yeah,
of a reference, okay.
So the same at the size of the value.
But in this case, when you say size of value, because you are in, so at that, in this case, it will be you are adding one more, you are appending one more cell in a particular array, right? Something like that, isn't it? So, but if you take by reference, you are just getting a address.
Yeah, but the size of the address is an integer.
Size of an address is an integer, right? But here in this part, the thing what he is doing it, your current path plus root dot val. So it's like you are appending one more element to an array every time. You know, you go down the level. So every time you are appending one more element each and every time. So you're increasing that array size, current path, whatever that root value is. So that is what was a concern for what Uday was also saying. So if we had a reference earlier when we actually take that instead of actually passing by a value, so then that will reduce. But okay, let's see if that make really if we actually implement by value and if we implement by reference, then technically we should see a difference in the time complexity of the lead code also, right, Uday?
Yeah, it should be, I think.
Yeah, it should. Let's see if that is, then the theory is right.
Yeah, definitely. Because if I mean, if reference won't take much memory, right? Compared to directly passing the value.
You
It's
save on the reference if
Hmm.
the object is big, right? Let's say you have big object, it take like a lot of memory, and then use a reference, then you save on it. But if the size, if let's say the object is small, size in integer, and you use a reference, then at the end, think about it. Let's say you have the size of an integer, the real value, right? And you have 5 elements in it. So you take, the total size will be what, five, size of the integer. But then you also have an array of references. And when you take the size of that array of references, that also the same size.
Yeah, but it depends on language. As example, in Java, we have a primitive integer and it works as you described it. Yeah, and we have wrapper for integer. Yeah, and each wrapper just keep primitive integer. But in order to keep it, it need one more machine word. Yeah, and basically Java integer is twice bigger than just reference to this object.
Yeah, I'm talking about in this case right here, the the case we have right here, the value that we need to return. So the size are the same.
Well, yeah, I tried running this with reference and without reference, and the time complexity matters to some extent for sure. Also the space.
So reference would take less, right?
Reference will take less, yeah. So the
Okay,
time
okay.
complexity as well as the memory, and if it is without reference by value, surely because it will pass. I think the constants are not used, so it's still going to pass in the lead code. Yeah, but that makes, yeah. So that was a valid point, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Uday is not in this now. He left, I think. Okay,
Yeah, no problem.
let's go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So our next question is like on
I
cross
think,
line.
let's see if Abhishek or someone has to share anything.
If anyone has to share.
Yeah, so I will share my reference one
Sure.
where we are passing by reference and not by value. So, so this is actually uh, when we are passing by value, what we do is uh, first we point to the root node and then we push 5 in the vector. Initially, the vector would be empty, and then when we go to the let's say left child, we again first we copy this 5, and then when we come at this left child, which is 4, uh, we add the value 4 in the last. Similarly, when we come at the left child of 4, we first copy this vector and then we add 2 in the last. So this is why at each step when we are copying values, so this will add another extra complexity, and at max this can be always the height of the tree. And in the worst case, this height will be the total number of trees if the tree is, let's say, left skew or right skew.
Right. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Hey, Abhishek, you aren't audible. Oh, I think we lost him.
Yeah, let's move then, and again we'll get back after this.
Okay.
So this is our uncrossed lines. So we write integers, we write the integers of a and b on two separate horizontal lines. And now we may draw the connecting lines, a straight line which are connecting the two numbers ai and bj, such that ai equal to bj, and the line we draw does not intersect any other connecting line. So note that a connecting line cannot intersect even at the end points. Each number can only belong to one connecting line. You have to return the number of connecting lines. So like this 2 and 2 you can't connect, right? Because it will intersect with 4 and 4. And since you have to, so 1 and 1 we are connecting, 4 and 4 we are connecting. So two intersecting lines here we are getting. 3 you can't draw because of the, if you draw 2 and 2, that will be a problem. Right.
So if we have, let's say, suppose we don't have 4, we don't draw the line 4 and 4, we draw the line 2 and 2. That's still okay, right?
Yeah, that will be okay because
Yeah,
it
that's
won't cut.
fine.
And it should not even intersect. Yeah, fine. Even like this, it's not possible. Or like had it between 4 here, this also you can't do. Even at this point, it shouldn't intersect. I mean, if you have 4 addresses, yeah. Yeah, these are some of the constraints. Yeah, so what should be the brute force?
Let's have 2 loop.
Okay.
And then, yeah, 2 loop and count the maximum. I mean, keep track of the maximum.
See, here the order matters, right?
Yeah, so we order that.
So even if you do the brute force the way Leon you're thinking, it will be very difficult to find because we are trying to find a subsequence here, right?
Yeah.
So it looks easy that it might be possible, but if your input becomes very huge, so it is very difficult to do that way. So either you have to form a combinations, okay, for each and every A and B, and then you try to find which is the maximum combination starting from a subset, you can say, okay, and then you can find out which subset actually is same and of a greater value.
Yeah, maybe it needs
That will be
more than 2.
exponential.
Yeah, because if it duplicate value, because if it duplicate value, then what connection would be the best one, right?
Yeah. So what you say makes sense. We'll have to find what are the same values in both of them, A and B. So the best way to find will be just making subsets of both of them, all the subsets from of length 1 all the way to n, the size of that A and B, and then start from the biggest size of that subsets, and slowly start moving towards the lowest side and see whichever one where you find those two subsets are same, then that will be your answer. Yeah, that will be one thing to do.
How will you avoid the crossing at that point?
We don't have to avoid the crossing. The crossing actually we are looking only in the sense if you find the same elements in the same order, isn't it?
Order should be same, yeah.
Order has to be same, yeah, absolutely.
Because you go from left to right, and then you process one element at a time. And the from A you go from left to right, from B, array B you go from left to right too. So let's say if you for example in this case you have one match with 1, then you skip the first index and you move to the second index on both array.
Mm-hmm.
So if we follow that order, then there will be no crossing, but then the time complexity will be high.
Yeah.
It's more of LCS kind of than, right?
Yeah, so it becomes more as an LCS problem, right? A subsequence problem. So if you find the longest subsequence, then yeah, that makes sense.
How would it be the LCS?
Like 1, 4 and 1, 4 is the longest common subsequence between both these two arrays, right? I mean, 1, 4 from first array, 1, 4 from second array. They are the longest common.
But
But
does it
because
have to be the longest? Oh, the common subsequence, I see.
Yeah.
Hmm. So this is what like LCS only have implemented. It's a trivial only, like going through each of the numbers in both the arrays, and if you find that AI and BJ are same, then one will be added, and you look for the I minus one, J minus one. And if they are different, you just pick the off diagonal ones, right? I minus one J or IJ minus one, and at last you return the last value, right? The normal 2D DP how we do in that case.
Yeah, this becomes very easy once we know that this is just the standard LCS problem.
Yeah, otherwise, I thought first that intersection of two arrays I have to get. I mean, how many elements, but that's not the case. Because in intersection 2 will also come. Yeah, right. 2 and 2 from both of them. But that's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is why if we find just the common subsequence, then there won't be any cross or intersection between the lines. So this is why finding the longest common subsequence would be the most optimal answer here.
Because sequence maintains your order, right? That's what.
Yeah, and even there won't be any intersection of the lines.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. So this implementation is the most optimized version of the LCS, right?
Yeah.
So we would also like to know, I know it will be easier to implement the recursion way, but we still would like to know that also.
Right.
And yeah, so out of this is at least a slightly complex one, but it looks very easy now, right?
Yeah, so many times you have seen LCSS,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Yeah, Abhishek, you want to share?
we might have to be ready for both.
Exactly,
And
yes.
okay.
Yeah, Abhishek, go ahead if you want.
Yeah, okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so is my screen visible?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just the standard recursive implementation using the memoization.
Mm-hmm.
We can start iterating from the right end of each of the arrays, and then we can compare if both the elements are equal, add one to our answer, and then move the pointers to adjacent left for both of the vectors. If the extreme values are not same, either skip one value in the first vector or skip one value in the second vector and take max of both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And whenever any of the values fall to the extreme left, we just return 0, because if one vector ends, then we don't have any common subsequence there. So in that case, we can return 0. And similarly, if any of the optimal substructure is already calculated, we can directly return that value from the DP vector. Otherwise, we can memoize it, and then we can return the value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Similarly, if we go for the iterative implementation, this is same like the recursive one, but we are starting our iteration from the extreme left and not extreme right. So this is why I've started the for loops from 1, uh, which corresponds to 1 based indexing, but our vector is 0 based. So this is why we will first subtract 1 from each of the indexes and do the same. If the extreme left iterators are same, then just add 1 and take the diagonal element. Otherwise, just take the max of the two adjacent cells.
Right.
And at last, we can just return the value which we received in the extreme right of each of the vectors.
Uh-huh. So you always start from I equals 1 and j equals 1. because you have taken an array of n plus 1 and m plus 1.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the why you are doing that? Because you would like to go I minus 1 and I minus j minus 1 in that case. Okay.
Yeah, so this will give a negative indexing if I start from 0, or I need to add an extra if statement. So to get rid of all those extra statements, we can just do a 1-based indexing instead of going for directly 0-based indexing.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
And so we can still optimize this one also, right? Space.
Yeah, so here if we see, yeah, so dp of ij, where I and j are the current states of the vector, we can see that it depends on I minus 1. Uh, so it just depends on the previous state or the current state previous value. So this is why I just need to keep track of the current state and the previous state, which is dp of I minus 1, which means that I can declare a vector of 2 cross m size. And after each of the iterations are done, I can swap my current state to the previous state. So previous state will store the current state for each of the next iterations.
Hmm.
So, so the idea is exactly same, but we are just changing the indexes which we are using, because I need just the previous state. So instead of going for, so instead of declaring a vector of taking entire n cross m space, we can take a vector of 2 cross m space, and then the current state, which is 1, is dependent on the previous state, which is 0, or this is when both the extreme left iterators are same. Otherwise, if they are not same, just take the current state previous value, which is dp of I minus 1j, or the previous state, same previous state top value. And then we can store it in the current state, and after each of the iterations are done, we can swap the uh, so we can swap the current state to the previous state. So at after each of the iterations, we will store the current state in my previous vector, which is dp of 0.
Okay.
One and through array you are copying to 0.
So when you are copying, you are doing another O of m operation, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Will that have a time complexity impact, or I think should
Yeah,
not,
so
right?
we take this as O of n. This will be O of m. Similarly, this will be O of m, but because the size of the vector, each of the vector is m plus 1 at max. So the overall complexity of this will come out to be O of n into m plus m. And yeah, so this will
2m.
be
Yeah.
yeah 2nm. So we can just ignore the
2.
constant factor, which is 2. So in that case, we will get n cross m
Yeah.
complexity.
Upload won't appear much.
Yeah, so this is just the optimized version of the previous case, but we are just optimizing our space complexity.
But yeah, this is one thing. Yeah, but I would say like instead of swapping, you could very well play with the indexes, just do modulo of 2 always, and then keep on switching from 1. Or is that not possible? I just thinking loud.
Yeah, I have not implemented
Yeah, no,
such.
I know. Yeah, but I'm just thinking, is
Yeah,
it possible? Because there will be always an additional time complexity there. So,
yeah.
hmm,
Yeah, so
fine.
this is like a trade-off between space and time.
Right.
Yeah.
We are optimizing our space to get an extra time complexity.
Mhm. Yeah, that's not a big deal though. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So next is like our univalued tree, I think.
Mhm.
Okay, this one. So this is so a binary tree is univalued. If every node in the tree has the same value, you have to return if the given tree is univalued. Yeah, right. All these are 1 1s, 2 2s. Why this is okay? 5 comes in.
So, what is the definition of univalued?
All the node will have same value.
Okay.
every node in the tree.
So we are given a tree and we don't know whether it is univalued or not. So we just have to return true if it's univalued.
Yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Otherwise, false.
it's
So
like any travel. Yeah.
yeah. So this will be very super easy way if we know any of the traversals of the tree, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, these are base cases like root is none, you return true. And if we are checking if their left branch exists, right? And left branch value is not equal to the root dot val, this is false. Similarly, for the right branch, you will do the same thing. You return false. Otherwise, you make a call on both left and right, and whatever values they return. I mean, if both of them are true, then you return true. Otherwise, that last false.
Okay. So the two conditions on line 16, 17 and 18, 19, they are the ones which actually find if the value is univalued or not. Those are the
Yeah.
important ones. Okay.
And
Uh,
after line 20, making call on two, what you say, two branches, left and right.
yeah. So that is like this is like almost a pre-order traversal, sort of. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, root we are dealing and then left.
Okay. This makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, can we do it the in order way? I doubt,
Yeah.
right? Because
Why not? We can, isn't it?
so usually in order, what happens is when you try to compare between the left and right subtree, correct? So at that time you are still in the root.
Also, you won't be, yeah, pre-order you are getting benefit that first root value itself you are getting, and then you are comparing with its left and right values, right?
Yeah.
But in order,
So yeah, in order we can still do, I would say, but then we'll have to have another additional parameter. So here you don't need that, therefore you could do it in a
you can do
Yeah,
level.
or globally we can declare, globally we can set a value which will be the roots value, and then for each of the recursive call we can just compare all the node value to that root value.
right. Yeah.
Or a level order
So
traversal. At every level, check the values all are equal or not. I mean, for loop will run till entire level finishes. When you pop out of the queue, you just check it. The next element which I pop is similar to the previous one which I
yeah,
popped.
that I think that will be overkill for this problem if we try to do BFS.
Well, okay. See, that will also be work fine. See, in this case, if we have a sparse trees, right? So if you look for examples like second, 2 and 3, you have only single element which is 5, correct? So in that case, if it's a sparse tree, so then BF is also not going to have a big problem unless all the nodes are going to be different.
Then,
Yeah, but then we'll have to do an early pruning in that. Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah, so
it is surely not a good way to do, but we can still keep on arguing on this, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, so this is just the recursive one where declare a global variable which is value, and it will store my root value, and I will then compare all the node values with my root value. So in the DFS, if the root points to null, then just return true because empty tree is a valid case. Other than that, just compare the roots value uh, and then whatever the DFS function returns for the left and right child. And you
Right.
can take a AND of all of this.
Yeah.
So if any of this returns 0, at that instant only it will return false. So it will not wait for this DFS calls.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. And if you want to do this iteratively, then I've implemented the in order version. So uh, this is just the in order traversal, and here also I have stored the value as the roots value. And after I have popped out each of the elements, I'll just compare it with the value, and if it is not same, then just return false in that case. So this will
Okay. Yeah.
be somewhat early exit, and if all the values corresponds to the root value, then just return true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a good one. Actually, we need to do the iterative also. Keep on
The interviewer will definitely.
revising it. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One.